Hi everyone. In this session we will discuss about pattern separability and interpolation. So here what do you mean by pattern separability? So pattern separability is nothing but if a set of patterns can be correctly classified by a straight line, then we call them as linearly separable. Okay, so the pattern separability can be done in linearly separable patterns as well as non-linearly separable patterns. Suppose, what do you mean by linearly separable and non-linearly separable? Okay, in the earlier classes we have seen, now again we will see. For example, in figure 1, so we have two varieties of classes. One is XX and the other is OO. So these two classes are separated with a straight line. So now we can say that in figure 1 the patterns are linearly separable. Whereas if you consider figure 2, so here also we have two types of classes like XX and OO. But with a single straight line we can't separate those patterns. Okay, that's why they are the example. Figure 2 is an example for non-linearly separable patterns. Okay, so in this situation what we are doing, we are separating them in this fashion. Okay, so if you are working on a linearly separable patterns, single layered perceptron is enough. Coming to the non-linearly separable patterns, if you are working on the patterns which are non-linearly separable, then definitely we should use multi-layered perceptron. Means here hidden unit is involved. Input unit, output unit, along with those two hidden unit is also involved. Whereas in single layered perceptron only the input unit and output unit is enough. Okay, right? So here what we are doing is, so by using RBFN, radial basis functional network, if RBFN is used, so here what we can do is we can convert a non-linearly separable patterns can be converted into a linearly separable patterns. How? For this we will use the Covers theorem. Okay, so hope you have understood the brief overview about pattern separability. So here the net input is a linear function of the individual inputs and the output is a linear function of the net input. Okay, so here we are going to discuss that by using Covers theorem. Okay, so what exactly is a Covers theorem? So Covers theorem is nothing but, so this theorem states that given a set of training data that is not linearly separable, one can with high probability can transform it into a training set that is linearly separable by projecting it into a higher dimensional space via some nonlinear transformation. And this Covers theorem was introduced by an information theorist by name Thomas M. Cover, and he stated it in 1965. Okay, so here what exactly the author is telling is Covers theorem is nothing but, first we are taking a data which is non-linearly separable and then we are converting it into linearly separable. Okay, right? So we will prove that. Okay, we will see that, or we will prove that with an example. So this is the example. Consider the non-linear function. So now in the graph if you see, there are two types of patterns. One is representing X and the other is representing O. So O is shown with red color. Okay, so we have two types of classes. So we can't separate them with a single straight line. That's why we can call this as non-linearly separable patterns. Okay, so here input vector X to the space psi1 minus psi2 space. Now here what we are supposed to do is, see the given data is, so what was given here is, so let us assume that X equal to X1, X2 are the inputs. X equal to X1, X2 are the inputs. Psi1 of X equal to, that is the formula. If you want to calculate psi1 of X, it is nothing but e to the power minus mod X minus T1 whole square. Similarly, psi2 psi2 of x equal to e to the power minus mod x minus t2 whole square. Okay, so t1 equal to 1 1 whole transpose, that is 1 1. So t2 equal to 0 0 whole transpose, that is 0 0. So now what we have to do is we have to calculate the values of psi1 of x, psi2 of x. So these are the inputs. So the inputs 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 1. So see here. So in the figure it is very clear that, so here we have 4 patterns, out of which only 2 varieties of classes were there. So class X, class O. So here 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 1. Okay, so that's the inputs 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 1. So we have the inputs x1 x2. Now what we have to do is we know t1 t2, and by using this formula we have to calculate psi1 of x, psi2 of x. Coming to the first one, so consider the input 0 comma 0. Psi1 of x equal to e to the power minus mod x minus t1 whole square. So first we have to calculate x minus t1. So after calculating x minus t1 we got 0. So psi1 of x equal to e to the power minus x minus t1 whole square, that is nothing but 0 we got now. So e to the power minus 0, that equal to 1. Similarly we have calculated psi2 of x. For that also we got, so e to the power 0, that is nothing but 1. Okay, so next consider, we will go for the next input, that is nothing but 0 1. So by using this input also we will calculate the value of psi1 of x as well as psi2 of x. Psi1 of x we got minus 1, psi2 of x we got 1. Okay, so x minus t is minus 1, so psi1 of x equal to 0. E to the power minus 1, that is nothing but 0.3678. So psi2 of x is 1. So similarly if you consider 1 comma 0 as the inputs, so we get, so x minus t1 equal to 1, psi1 of x equal to e to the power minus 1, that equal to 0.3678. Similarly x minus 2 equal to 0, so psi2 of x equal to e to the power minus 0, that equal to 1. So coming to the last inputs 1 comma 1. So here also we have to calculate the value of psi1 of x and psi2 of x. So psi1 of x we got e to the power minus 0, that equal to 1. Similarly psi2 of x equal to e to the power minus 0, that equal to 1. So now we have to fill the table. Okay, these are the values we got. So if you take the input 0 0, psi1 of x is 1, psi2 of x is 1. So if you take the input 0 comma 1, psi1 of x is 0.3678, whereas psi2 of x is 1. If you take the input as 1 comma 0, so psi1 of x we got 0.3678, psi2 of x is 1. So if you take the input as 1 comma 1, psi1 of x is 1, psi2 of x is 1. We have to plot them. So if you plot, see the patterns which are, so here we have two set of classes. One is x class and the other is O class. So x class 0 comma 1 1 comma 0 is here, whereas O class 0 0 1 1, so it is here. So with a straight line we are able to separate these two classes. So a non-linear, see here at the end, at the starting we have taken an example. So this is the figure. So what are x? 0 comma 1 1 comma 0, whereas O class are 0 0 1 1. Okay, so here these are non-linearly separable. Okay, after applying this Covers theorem, what we made, so we have converted them into linearly separable, means see 0 0 1 1 are O classes, 0 1 1 0 are X class. So after performing the Covers theorem, we have proved that a non-linearly separable patterns can be converted into a linearly separable patterns. See here, we are able to separate them by a straight line. Okay, so this is what about the Covers theorem. Okay, see here, the author has given that the non-linear psi function transformed a non-linearly separable problem into a linearly separable one. Okay, so this is what the author is telling. Okay, hope you have understood this Covers theorem. Okay, this is about pattern separability. Okay. Hi everyone, in this session we will discuss about interpolation problem. So the interpolation problem requires every input vector to be mapped exactly onto the corresponding target vector. So if you see the input vector xp equal to xip, where I equal to 1, 2, 3 and so on to d, means these are the input vector. So to be mapped on the corresponding target output. TP is nothing but target output, where p equal to 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on to n. Okay, and here the interpolation problem is to determine the real coefficient and the polynomial term. So you know what is a coefficient. For example, if you take a small expression like ax square plus bx plus c. So here what is a? A is the coefficient. Ax square, that 2 is the exponent. Okay, so here what exactly the author is trying to tell is, so here the function is called RBF if the interpolation problem has a unique solution. Okay, the goal is to find a function f of x such that f of x to the power p equal to tp, where p equal to 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on to n. Okay, now it is explained. See clearly, the problem of reconstructing the map f is said to be well posed if three conditions are satisfied. Okay, if three conditions are satisfied. Okay, so what are those conditions? The first one is existence, second one is uniqueness, third one is continuity. So you watch the figure closely. Okay, so the first one is existence. What is existence? For every input vector x, so see here, this domain x, range y, you assume that this domain x is input, this range y is output. So for every input vector x belongs to h, there does exist an output y equal to f of x. Okay, if there is a x in the input, f of x should exist. So that is existence. That is the first condition. Second condition is uniqueness. What is uniqueness? For any pair of input vectors x comma t belongs to capital H, we have f of x equal to f of t if and only if x equal to t. So what the author is telling is, so so in the inputs now we have t and x. Okay, so and corresponding for x we have f of x, for t we have f of t. F of x equal to f of t, only these two are equal, f of x equal to f of t. It happens only if and only if x equal to t. Okay, when x equal to t, at that time only f of x will be equal to f of t. That is what the uniqueness condition says. Coming to the continuity, the third condition. Continuity is nothing but stability, and what it is saying is, for any epsilon greater than 0, there exists delta equal to delta of epsilon such that the condition rho x of x comma t is less than delta implies that rho y of f of x comma f of t are also less than epsilon. Okay, where rho is the symbol for distance between the two arguments in their respective spaces. So what the author is telling is, for example, in the input we have x comma t. If x comma t are less than the delta, then the distance between f of x and f of t are also less than epsilon. Okay, where rho is the distance between the two arguments in their respective spaces. So that is what the third condition says. Okay, so those conditions were given here, and here what the author is telling is, if any of these three, so now we have specified three conditions: existence, uniqueness, continuity. If any of these conditions is not satisfied, means any of these conditions goes wrong, okay, the problem, then that problem is said to be ill-posed. Ill-posed. What is an ill-posed problem? Ill-posed problem is nothing but, so the large data sets may contain small amount of information about the desired solution. Okay, so here if these three goes correct, okay, so what the author is telling, the problem of reconstructing the map f is said to be well posed. Okay, it is well posed if these three conditions are satisfied. If any of these three conditions goes wrong, then it is called ill posed. So what is ill-posed problem? Ill-posed problem is nothing but the large data set may contain a small amount of information about the desired solution. Okay, so this is all about interpolation problem. Okay, hope you have understood. Okay, thank you.